Hello everyone, welcome back. It's been a bit since I uploaded because I had a bunch recorded and then my camera rendering software, whatever, does what it does and it didn't work and I didn't have time to record again and do the whole process until today because shockingly, right before you get married there's a lot of stuff to do and it takes all day. And then I'm gonna be getting married and then honeymoon. I don't know how much I'm gonna be uploading for the next week or two. But I'm gonna try and get at least a couple that'll be scheduled and out. But yeah, if I'm gone for a bit, I'm getting married and that's why. So anyways, for those who don't care, let's move on to the review. Another book from Pagan Portals. This one is Rhiannon, Divine Queen of the Celtic Britons. I do not know how to say the author's name. This one is a lot to try and pronounce, so I'm just gonna not butcher names. But yeah, this book. So I had bought this and the Morrigan one a while ago. I don't even remember how many years ago. And I'm starting to realize that I think this publishing house has a very specific audience in mind, and I don't think I'm that audience. For some pagans, having the myths and dissecting those and analyzing the myth is huge. I am not. I don't care. Because myth, to me, is like maybe 5% of what you should care about. For me, obviously, your mileage may vary. Myths are just written down by humans at various points in history. Somebody made it up. Probably more people added to it and adjusted it, and then it became myth. And that's what was eventually written down. And I'm just not a big fan of we gotta stick to the myths, we gotta care, and we gotta link it in all these different ways. I don't care, at all. It's cool to read about them. I think I'm gonna like the Norse ones better reading Neil Gaiman's book than if I pick up a Pagan Portals book and have to go through the myths that way. Even Jackson Crawford's books are kind of hard to read. I like the Cowboy Havamal because that one's ooh, this is fun. But the rest of it is oh man, it's a lot of especially his intros and stuff. It's I'm not that person. However, there are scholarly witches and pagans out there, and that is the target audience. If you love myths, if you love academically looking at the gods and seeing how things became associations and where in the myths things came from, you will love these books. I don't. I wanted a book that was an introduction to working with the deities, and yet again, not a lot for that. There was only the briefest of mentions of modernly how we look at this goddess, and of course the classic Stevie Nicks song by Fleetwood Mac comes up, and then there was one or two other little ones here and there, but how we view her today was just a brief at the very end. I will say this book talks about the context of the myths a little bit better than the Morrigan one, which I appreciated, because again, I don't care much about myths, so I don't know the backstories. I wish these books had more for a modern practitioner who's wanting to learn about how to work with these deities, general vibes, how modernly we work with them, and I don't think any book in this series is going to be like that. I have a sneaking suspicion they're all for the academic pagan or witch. And don't get me wrong, I'm so glad that those pagans have probably an entire book series out there for them. I'm just not that audience. I don't love the too casual writings, don't get me wrong. Don't like those on the same level but different reasons. There's a happy medium that most authors tend to fall into, and that's where I like it, where we're not trying to talk and prove points and constantly quote other people and be okay, here's my sources and all of this, and you're trying to prove your argument. I don't want to read that book. I don't want to read an essay. That was the boring part about getting a degree. And that's kind of all these books are. At least the two that I've read. Maybe the other ones are different because they are pretty much all written by different people, so maybe I've just found the few that are very academic based, but I have a suspicion that this publishing house is really big on you need to have you're working on your PhD levels of trying to prove your point, and constantly, I mean, most of this book is just talking about the myth and arguing linguistics, which was the worst course that I ever took. I don't care. Like, this is just not my cup of tea. And I'm sure other people will love it if that's what you care about. If I wanted to understand how the myths work together and where it comes from and what ones she shows up in and analyzing like the backstory of how the myths and all of this stuff happen, I would probably love these books. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for how do we work with her modernly? What modern archetypes does she typically represent? And they have that like as a teensy bit at the end, but I wanted the full of this little pamphlet book to be on that topic, and maybe one chapter at most on the myths, and it's the majority of these books. So I don't know how many more of these I'm going to get, because I would love to get them for deities I work with, but I'm also like, do I care? Which sounds terrible, but like, do I care about the myths? Probably not. Like, I care just like a teensy bit. And for the Norse ones, I'm kind of feeling like I might get more out of the Neil Gaiman one, where he's trying to tell the story of the myths, not constantly referencing so many academic things, you know? And like, I would love to know about a few other goddesses, and I'm like, where should I find better books on the topic? Because again, that seems to be the target audience is the academic pagans and those who might be more of a reconstructionist and wanting to really only use what was in the past for the most part. And I just am not that person. So that said, I would love to hear your thoughts on this book. And if you've read any other of the Pagan Portal ones, did you kind of get the same vibes? Is it just like these couple that I've got? Does it get better? Are they kind of the same? Because this felt like very similarly laid out too. Like, I kind of wonder if the publishing house gives like a detailed outline of like what you need to write and the people just fill it in with their information kind of a deal. Because at the very end it was very similar of like, how do we look at her now? Where does she pop up in modern culture? How to set up an altar? Here's like a quick thing to do with her. Here's a few like incantations and evocations, and that's it. So I don't know. They're not my favorite. Again, I'm not the target audience, but other people who are will probably really love these books. So that is going to be it for this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on this or any of the other Pagan Portal books in the comments down below. Do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post typically every day. Again, the next couple weeks may or may not be happening, but we'll see. I'm gonna try to get some up. Might not be every day. And of course, I do have a Patreon at patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. It's over there. I'll probably be posting a lot of the handfasting stuff that we are going to actually be doing. So if you want to see some of that stuff, it'll be over there. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.